The sound of glass clinking was supposed to feel like celebration, our 10th anniversary, the charity gala Ryan had been planning for months. I wore the navy silk dress he picked, the one that matched his tie. Everything looked perfect from the outside. The floral arch, the photographers, the dim amber lighting that made everyone glow. Perfect, until I realized I was the only one still pretending. Sabrina Holt arrived late as usual, in a silver dress that shimmered like arrogance. The crowd shifted toward her the way people do around money. Ryan's eyes followed. She kissed him on both cheeks, lingering, whispering something that made him smirk. I tried not to notice, but her hand stayed on his arm longer than it should have. When I approached, she gave me that smile. The kind rich women perfect, equal parts pity and power. "Elena," she said, her tone syrup sweet. "I heard you weren't too happy with the seating arrangement." I blinked. "I never said that." Ryan laughed, loud enough for the nearest tables to turn. "Honey, you did complain. Don't make a scene." My pulse stung in my throat. "Ryan, He cut me off, turning to the crowd. "My wife can be passionate. She didn't mean to offend Sabrina. Isn't that right, sweetheart?" Every eye was on me. 100 perfect faces frozen in polite curiosity. He wanted me to apologize. To her. For something I didn't do. I forced a smile that cracked halfway. "Of course not. I'm sorry if there was any misunderstanding." Sabrina tilted her head, milking the silence. "It's all right. We all know how stressful these events can be, especially for people not used to them." The room laughed, not loud, just enough for humiliation to echo. Ryan joined in. My husband laughed at me. I set my champagne flute down before my hand could shake. "Excuse me," I whispered, but he grabbed my wrist. "Don't walk away again, Elena," he hissed, still smiling for the cameras. "You promised to behave tonight." That was the moment something in me snapped. 10 years of pretending, smoothing over, shrinking down so he could shine. I turned to him steady. "Behave?" I said quietly. "You mean, like your friend here?" Sabrina's smile faltered. Ryan's eyes went cold. I picked up my glass and raised it toward them both. "To loyalty," I said. "May it last longer than your lies." Then I threw the drink. Not at him, not at her, but across the table where it shattered, splashing both. Gasps rippled through the room. Ryan shouted my name, but I was already walking toward the exit, heels clicking like a countdown. Cameras flashed. Someone called after me, but I didn't turn. Outside, the night air was sharp and clean, like freedom disguised as frost. I could still hear the muffled music inside, the laughter resuming, the machine of reputation spinning again without me. I stood on the sidewalk, clutching my purse, my heart trying to crawl out of my chest. 10 years erased in 10 seconds. And yet, it felt like the first real breath I'd taken in years. A black car pulled up, one of the event drivers assuming I needed a ride. I got in without thinking. My phone buzzed, Ryan's name lighting the screen. I let it ring. Then I turned it off. Through the tinted glass, I watched the hotel's glowing facade shrink behind me. Somewhere inside, Ryan was trying to control the story. He'd call it a misunderstanding, make jokes, spin sympathy. That was his game, perception over truth. He'd win tonight. But not for long. As the city lights blurred past, I whispered to myself. Not out of anger, but clarity. "You humiliated the wrong woman." The driver asked where to. "Home," I said. "For now." He nodded and merged into traffic. I pressed my forehead against the window, replaying the moment. The smirk, the laughter, the way Sabrina's perfume filled the space between us. My stomach turned, not just from betrayal, but from how familiar it felt. The way I'd ignored every sign, explained every inconsistency, convinced myself I was imagining it. No more. By the time the car stopped at our house, I had already made the decision that would unravel him. I wasn't going to cry, beg, or confront him again. That's what he'd expect. Men like Ryan feed off reaction. It makes them feel powerful. I'd take something else from him. Silence. Inside, I went straight to our bedroom. The framed photos on the wall looked like strangers, smiling versions of us that never truly existed. I opened the closet, pulled down my old laptop, the one I hadn't used since leaving my PR firm, and turned it on. The screen glowed like a match in a dark room. He wanted a performance? He'd get one, just not the kind he could control. In that moment, I didn't know exactly what form my revenge would take. All I knew was that I'd make him feel what he made me feel. Exposed, powerless, small, and I wouldn't need to shout to do it. I sat there until dawn, replaying the gala in my mind, line by line, every laugh, every glance. By sunrise, humiliation had hardened into strategy. That night, Ryan Ward made me say sorry. By the time I was done, he'd be the one begging for forgiveness, and the world would watch him do it. People used to call us the golden couple. We met in our mid-20s, when ambition still felt romantic. I was working in PR, building brands out of thin air. He was a hungry consultant who could charm anyone into trusting him. Together, we were unstoppable. Or at least, that's what I believed. Back then, Ryan wasn't rich, but he was relentless. We shared one car, one dream, and a tiny apartment with peeling paint that we pretended was vintage. He'd stay up nights running projections while I edited his presentations, fixing grammar, tightening slides, coaching him before meetings. I was his unpaid strategist long before he became anyone's husband. When his company offered a relocation to Austin, he hesitated. I didn't. I quit my job, packed our lives into boxes, and said, "Let's go build something." I told myself love meant sacrifice, that my career could wait. The first few years were fine, exciting even. We built connections, bought a modest house, had our daughter, Lily. Everything revolved around his schedule: dinners, flights, conferences. I learned to blend into his world, quiet, polished, agreeable. I believed I was supporting us, not erasing myself. When his first big bonus came, he insisted on celebrating with a weekend at the lake. He toasted, "To us, the power couple." I remember laughing, not realizing the toast already sounded one-sided. He rose fast. Promotions, corporate trips, new clients with deeper pockets. Somewhere in that climb, he stopped saying us. His world became I, me, my team, my contacts. Then came the inheritance. My mother passed 2 years ago, sudden stroke, leaving me a small fortune from the family vineyard back in Oregon. Ryan cried with me, held my hand, promised to manage it wisely. Until I was ready. I believed him. I signed the joint investment forms he prepared. Half of that money, gone within months. Reinvested, he said. Compounding assets. I didn't ask where. Love was still supposed to mean trust. But the signs began to surface, like cracks under polished marble. Late-night meetings that didn't match his calendar. A new cologne, not the one I bought. Business dinners that excluded spouses. I found a gold bracelet receipt in his car, engraved with SH. Awesome when I asked. He said it was for a client's wife. I laughed, nervously, pretending I believed him. He started correcting me in public. "Elena, don't exaggerate. You wouldn't understand the numbers. Try not to overreact." Each correction chipped away at my voice until silence felt safer. Then Sabrina appeared. At first, she was a new investor's daughter, all smiles, designer heels, and calculated charm. She attended every corporate event, every dinner. She'd compliment me in front of people, then whisper small cruelties just quiet enough for me to hear. "You're brave to wear silk after kids," she once said, smiling for the photographer. Ryan defended her constantly. "She's just young. Don't take it personally." He started comparing me to her, subtly, surgically. You could learn a thing or two from how she networks. I told myself it was jealousy. I told myself I was tired. I told myself I was paranoid. And then came the apology night. After I walked out of that gala, I stayed at my friend Marissa's apartment. She'd been my college roommate, fiery, honest, the kind of woman who never sugarcoated anything. When she saw my face, she didn't ask questions. She poured wine, waited, and said, "Start from the top." I told her everything: the humiliation, the forced apology, Sabrina's smirk, Ryan's laughter. Marissa listened, arms crossed. Then she pulled out her phone, scrolling quietly. "You said her name's Sabrina Holt, right?" My chest tightened. "Yeah. Why?" She turned the screen toward me. It was a tabloid Instagram account, the kind that feeds off luxury scandals. A post from 2 weeks ago. Consultant powerhouse Ryan Ward seen cozy with investor's daughter Sabrina Holt at Barton Creek Resort. There were photos, grainy, but clear enough, his hand on her lower back, her head resting on his shoulder, both smiling. For a second, I couldn't breathe. "Maybe it's—" Marissa cut me off. "No, Elena, it's not. He's been flaunting her. You just didn't want to see it." I took her phone, zoomed in on his watch. The silver Omega I gave him on our 5th anniversary. I remembered saving for months to buy it. He'd told me he'd never take it off. My throat burned. "Lily's birthday was that weekend," I whispered. "He said he was on a client retreat." Marissa's voice softened. "You already knew, didn't you?" Tears finally came, but not from sadness, from clarity. Every instinct I'd silenced screamed in chorus. The bracelet, the secret calls, the way Sabrina's laugh filled our living room when she visited for business. That night, I went into Lily's room, watched her sleep. She had his eyes, same deep brown, same calm, even in dreams. She stirred, mumbling, "Mommy?" I brushed her hair back. "It's okay, baby. Go back to sleep." And in that quiet, I made a promise. Not to hurt him out of rage, but to protect her from the kind of man who mistakes dominance for love. Marissa placed a hand on my shoulder. "You're not crazy, Elena. You were betrayed. And it's time you stop pretending it's fixable." Her words landed like a final verdict. No more denial. No more waiting for closure from someone who built his career on manipulation. By morning, the world hadn't changed, but I had. The woman Ryan humiliated at that gala was gone. What replaced her was something sharper, colder, patient enough to make him regret ever making her say sorry. Morning came heavy, the kind that makes light feel like an accusation. I sat at Marissa's kitchen table in one of her oversized sweaters, my coffee untouched, my mind already assembling blueprints. Sleep hadn't come, only a looping reel of Ryan's smirk, the crowd's laughter, Sabrina's jeweled hand resting on his arm. I'd cried enough. Now I was done reacting. It was time to respond. I opened my laptop, the same one that once helped me build his brand, draft his speeches, clean up his lies. Funny how the tools that built him would now dismantle him. The first step was simple: information. Betrayal loses power once you know how it operates. I logged into our joint accounts. 2 of them were nearly empty. Transfers I hadn't approved, names I didn't recognize. He'd moved large sums into business expenses. My inheritance. My mother's life work evaporated under his signature. I screenshotted everything, stored it in a new folder labeled Restoration. Then I logged into our cloud drive, the one he assumed I'd forgotten existed. I found invoices, photos, hotel confirmations, and messages between him and Sabrina using coded subject lines. Client dinner, Lakeview, projector delivery, Paris trip. Every lie disguised as corporate language. I copied every file, methodically. My hands didn't shake once. By noon, I had a digital map of his deception. Marissa watched me from across the table. "You're scaring me a little," she said. "I'm just collecting receipts," I replied, my tone flat. "He built a reputation on appearances. I'm going to use that against him." She hesitated. "Are you sure you want to go down this road? It's going to get ugly." I looked at her, calm. "It's already ugly. I'm just making it honest." That afternoon, I called a lawyer, Rachel Kim, one of my old clients from my PR days who'd shifted into family law. I didn't tell her everything, just enough. I'm not looking for revenge, I told her. I'm looking for protection. For myself and my daughter. Her voice was steady. Then you'll need documentation, witnesses, and timing. Move quietly until you're ready to file. Timing. I could do that. PR had taught me timing better than love ever did. When I drove back to the house that evening, everything felt staged, like a crime scene preserved too perfectly. Ryan's car was in the driveway, polished as always. The porch light was on. His attempt at normalcy. Inside, he greeted me like nothing had happened. Elena, finally. You left your phone off all day. You embarrassed me last night, but we can fix this. I stared at him, expressionless. Fix what? The narrative, he said. People think you had some sort of breakdown. I told them you were stressed. Maybe if you apologize publicly... That word again. Apologize. I smiled, small and deliberate. Sure, we'll fix it. He relaxed, clueless. Good. Sabrina's father's company is hosting a luncheon next week. I'll handle it, I interrupted. Let me clean up the mess, Ryan. He looked relieved, which told me everything about his arrogance. He thought I was still on his side. After he went to shower, I went upstairs to the safe where we kept our passports and property deeds. The documents were there, except for one, the trust deed for my mother's estate. Gone. My pulse quickened, but I didn't panic. I took what remained, insurance papers, tax records, Lily's birth certificate, and placed them in my bag. Then I checked the guest room closet. My old camera equipment was still there. I took that too. A good PR strategist knows that sometimes pictures tell stories better than words. That night, I slept beside him for the last time. He reached for me out of habit. I stayed still. He murmured something about moving forward. I stared at the ceiling, thinking how forward would soon mean away. By morning, I was gone. Lily was at school. Ryan was still asleep. I left a note on the kitchen counter. 3 words, written with surgical precision. Don't call me. At Marissa's, I set up what she jokingly called war headquarters. My laptop, my folders, a stack of printouts. Every transaction, every hotel receipt, every picture. I started contacting his business clients through anonymous accounts, feeding small truths that raised questions. I didn't need to ruin him yet. Just make people curious. Meanwhile, Rachel drafted the legal paperwork for freezing shared assets. By the time Ryan realized something was off, his company credit cards would decline mid-lunch. When his text finally came through, "What are you doing? Why are my cards blocked?" I didn't answer. Instead, I sent a single screenshot. The photo from that gossip page of him and Sabrina, his hand on her back. No caption. He called. I declined. An hour later, another message. We can talk about this. Don't do anything stupid. I smiled. Too late, I thought. I already married you. By evening, I had contacted a discreet real estate agent to list the house. It was half mine, legally, more than half now that he'd used my inheritance. Rachel assured me the courts would favor my side. I picked up Lily from school and drove her to the small apartment Marissa found for us. When she asked, "Are we moving, Mommy?" I answered softly, "Just for a while, sweetheart, until I find somewhere quieter." She nodded, trusting. Kids always sense more than they understand, but she didn't press. I tucked her in that night with a calm voice I didn't feel. Once she was asleep, I sat on the balcony overlooking the city. My phone buzzed again, this time a voicemail. Ryan's voice, low and angry. "You think you can just leave? You don't know what you're doing. You'll regret this." I played it twice, saving the recording. Threats make excellent evidence. The next morning, his LinkedIn bio changed. He'd updated his status to taking time for personal reflection, PR translation, panic. His image was cracking. For the first time in years, I felt in control, not of him, not of the story, but of myself. The same skills I once used to build his empire would now dismantle it, piece by careful piece. He still didn't know how much I had. The files, the screenshots, the proof that every client dinner was a lie wrapped in charm. He didn't know I'd already started transferring our daughter's savings into a separate Guardian account. He thought I was angry. He was wrong. I was organized. And that's far more dangerous. The first crack appeared 2 days later. Ryan called 10 times before noon, his tone shifting from pleading to furious. "Elena, the company card isn't working. Did you touch something?" I let it go to voicemail. Then another message. "I can't access the joint account. My accountant says there's a freeze." "What the hell are you doing?" Each word was fuel. I replayed his anger while sipping coffee on Marissa's balcony, the sun warm against my face. It didn't feel like victory. Not yet. It felt like justice slowly exhaling. That afternoon, I checked the gossip feeds. A new headline: "Power couple no more. Ryan Ward attends event alone after gala incident." The photo showed him looking strained, jaw tight, with Sabrina trailing behind in oversized sunglasses. The comments were brutal, people speculating, laughing, dissecting every rumor. I didn't post a thing. I didn't need to. The story was writing itself. Marissa leaned over my shoulder. "You see this? They're eating him alive." I nodded. That's what happens when you feed the image more than the truth. By the end of the week, his panic spilled into my inbox. A message titled, "You win," sat unopened for a full hour before curiosity got me. "I don't know what you're doing, but it's hurting both of us. I'm trying to fix this. Sabrina's getting dragged online, investors are nervous, and my partners are asking questions. Please, let's meet and talk like adults." Adults. The irony almost made me laugh. Instead, I forwarded the email to Rachel, who replied in minutes. "Do not respond. He's baiting you. The more he scrambles, the better your position looks in court." By the next morning, the consequences spread like smoke. Sabrina's brand partnership with a skincare company vanished overnight after conflict of interest rumors. I might have nudged that along. A quiet email, a forwarded photo, a reminder that she wasn't the family values face they were paying for. Ryan's name began trending on LinkedIn for all the wrong reasons. Clients canceled calls. 2 of his biggest accounts shifted contracts to competitors. His assistant, the one who'd always greeted me with rehearsed politeness, emailed me privately. "I'm sorry for what he put you through. Everyone knows the truth now." And yet, through the chaos, he still underestimated me. That was his fatal flaw. Believing I'd lash out emotionally instead of planning strategically, he didn't realize the silence was part of the plan. Lily noticed the tension only in fragments. "Mommy, Daddy sounds mad on the phone," she said one evening. I smiled softly. "He's just learning some lessons, sweetheart." When the news finally hit the local business site, consultant Ryan Ward faces internal audit after allegations of financial misconduct, I sat in the quiet glow of my laptop and felt the first real release of tension in months. No shouting, no revenge speeches, just reality catching up to him. Marissa poured us both wine. "You know this isn't the end," she said. "He'll try something. Men like him don't go down quietly." I met her eyes. "Then I'll make sure his noise ruins only him." The world was finally seeing Ryan the way I had for years. Beneath the polish. A man built on manipulation and borrowed credibility. And that was just the beginning. The restaurant was one of those glass-walled places that looked expensive just to breathe in. Ryan used to love it, the kind of spot where people measured success by who recognized them. That night, it was packed with suits and champagne flutes, a perfect stage. I'd gotten the tip from Marissa. He'd be dining there with investors trying to patch the bleeding reputation. Sabrina would be there too. I almost didn't go. Almost. But closure doesn't come from silence. It comes from exposure. I walked in wearing calm like armor. No drama, no makeup tears, just precision. Heads turned. The maitre d' hesitated, then recognized me. "Mrs. Ward?" he said quietly. I smiled. "Not anymore." Ryan spotted me mid-laugh. mid-lie. His face drained of color. Elena? The table went still. Sabrina shifted uncomfortably, her fork clinking against the plate. I could have walked out right then, let the tension do the work. But I wanted him to hear the truth with an audience, the same way he'd humiliated me. I approached slowly, my heels the only sound. I thought I'd stop by. It's been a while since you forced me to apologize in public. Figured I owed you the sequel. A nervous chuckle rippled through the table. One man cleared his throat, pretending to check his phone. Ryan stood, lowering his voice. This isn't the place. I tilted my head. That's what you said the night you made me apologize to your mistress. Sabrina gasped softly. Someone whispered. I could feel phones being lifted under the table, a digital audience ready for blood. I dropped the folder I'd been holding. It hit the white tablecloth with a soft slap. Invoices, photos, transfers, and emails spilling out like confession pages. Since you're all about transparency, I said, you might want to see where the company funds really went. Paris, Maui, the Four Seasons, all filed under client relations. Ryan's jaw tightened. You're ruining my career. I smiled. No, Ryan. You did that the moment you tried to build it on my silence. Sabrina pushed back her chair, color draining from her face. This isn't my fault. I turned to her. You're right. It's not your fault he cheated, but it is your fault you thought being someone's accessory made you rich. It only made you replaceable. The room buzzed. Phones captured every word. Ryan reached for the papers, but one of the investors stopped him. Is this true? I leaned in, voice low but steady. He'll tell you it's all lies. But by morning, every receipt will be public. I suggest you check your accounts before the story breaks. Then I straightened, smoothed my coat, and looked at Ryan one last time. You said I embarrassed you. Tonight, I'm just returning the favor. As I turned to leave, the restaurant exploded in murmurs. Behind me, Sabrina whispered something sharp, her heels clattering as she stormed out. One of the men muttered, "She just ended him." Outside, I breathed in the night air, cold, electric, alive. I didn't need applause. The silence of his downfall was enough. By morning, the video had gone viral. The headline read, "Wife exposes husband's double life at investor dinner, the ultimate apology reversal." And for the first time in years, my name wasn't tied to his. It was mine again. The morning after the restaurant confrontation, my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Messages, notifications, news alerts, all repeating the same words. Viral video, betrayal, downfall. Someone had uploaded the entire exchange. My voice, calm and measured, contrasted perfectly with Ryan's panic. The internet crowned me the woman who ended her husband with evidence. I didn't post anything. I didn't have to. The silence spoke louder than any statement. By noon, PR blogs were dissecting the story like vultures over fresh scandal. Who is Elena Ward? One headline read. The woman who outsmarted a consultant. They quoted my exact words. You said I embarrassed you. Tonight, I'm just returning the favor. Hashtags flooded every platform. The apology reversal. Elena Ward. Karma came rich. And while the internet cheered, Ryan did what he always did. Tried to control the story. A video appeared on his LinkedIn that afternoon. He sat in his office, tie loosened, pretending vulnerability. I want to clear up misconceptions, he said. My marriage was complicated. I made mistakes, but this online attack isn't fair. I'm still the same professional people have trusted for years. Classic damage control. Half admission, full deflection. The comments didn't go as he expected. Complicated? You humiliated your wife in public. Where was this energy when she had to apologize for you? You used company funds for your mistress. You're done. Within hours, his post turned into a battlefield. He tried replying, defending himself, deleting comments. Every move made it worse. The internet loves sincerity, but worships exposure. Then came the real blow. One of his former employees leaked internal memos. Shady expense reports, falsified invoices, even screenshots of him asking staff to book client trips that were clearly romantic getaways. I recognized the dates: Maui, Paris. All the same weekends I'd spent home with Lily, waiting for him to call. The memos spread across Reddit, then Twitter, then mainstream outlets. Suddenly, this wasn't just gossip. It was financial misconduct. I sat at Marissa's apartment watching the chaos unfold, sipping tea while he tried to salvage his empire with apologies and press statements. "He's spiraling," she said. "You broke his narrative." I nodded. "I didn't break it. I just stopped holding it together." By evening, the story made local news. Anchors repeated his name next to words like embezzlement and inappropriate relationship. Sabrina's father, the investor he'd once courted, released a statement distancing their company from Ryan entirely. "We were misled by false representations," it read. "We will pursue legal action." Ryan's face was everywhere, not as the polished consultant but as the scandal. His eyes on screen looked smaller, cornered. I could have felt pity. I didn't. Instead, I opened the anonymous account I'd created weeks ago and posted one line that sealed his fate. "When someone teaches you humiliation, learn discipline instead of revenge, then use both." The post went viral within hours, attributed to me, though I never confirmed it. People shared it with captions like, "Elena speaks again." They didn't need to know if it was real. It felt true, and that was enough. The PR world has rules. 1. You can't win a war of perception with evidence alone. You win it with timing. So I waited until his next interview. He'd booked a morning TV slot to tell his side. He looked exhausted, over-rehearsed, clinging to empathy he no longer inspired. Halfway through the broadcast, a producer handed the host a paper. Breaking news. Someone had leaked screenshots of his emails to Sabrina, including one line that killed any remaining sympathy. "She still thinks I'm managing her inheritance. Once the divorce is done, I'll replace what I used." The host read it live. The audience gasped. Ryan froze. The clip cut off mid-stutter but went viral before noon. His comeback interview became his obituary. The comments were merciless. Inheritance Gate trended for 2 days. Sponsors dropped him. His company suspended him pending investigation. Sabrina deleted all her accounts. For the first time since that gala, I felt peace, not satisfaction, just a quiet return to balance. Marissa asked, "Are you done now?" I smiled faintly. Almost. Because revenge isn't about destruction. It's about truth finding its way home. That night, as I tucked Lily into bed, she asked softly, "Mommy, are we going to be okay?" I brushed her hair back. "We already are, sweetheart. Some storms don't break you. They just wash the lies away." And somewhere across the city, Ryan was watching his empire dissolve in real time, not from an enemy's attack, but from the truth he'd buried too long. The PR war was over. He'd fired the first shot months ago. I just made sure the world saw where it landed. The summons arrived on a Monday morning. Official, heavy, stamped with the state seal. The same kind of document Ryan once bragged about avoiding his entire career. This time it had his name printed in bold across the top. Respondent, Ryan Ward. Rachel, my lawyer, smiled faintly as she handed me a copy. "He's going to fight it," she said. "But the evidence is a landslide. You've got everything. Fraud, misappropriation, emotional abuse, financial misconduct. The judge will see through him in minutes." It didn't feel triumphant. It felt like inevitability. The hearings began quietly. Ryan arrived every time looking smaller, the tailored suits looser, the confidence forced. He kept glancing around the courtroom, expecting someone to defend him. But no one did. Sabrina wasn't there. Her father had filed civil action against him for defamation and restitution. The same man who once toasted their business partnership now wouldn't even acknowledge him. The first day, Ryan tried to charm the judge. It fell flat. The second day, he tried anger, accusing me of hacking, manipulation, even emotional instability. But Rachel was relentless. Every time he spoke, she countered with proof. Emails, receipts, photos. The bracelet with SH engraved. By the third day, his voice had lost its conviction. He looked more like a man begging for oxygen than someone defending himself. When the judge asked me if I had anything to say, I kept it short. I gave him everything I had: love, loyalty, trust, and money. He gave me deception in return. I'm not here for vengeance, Your Honor. I'm here for closure. The judge nodded, almost gently. Mrs. Ward, you'll have both. The ruling was decisive. I was awarded full custody of Lily, primary ownership of the house, and restitution for half the inheritance funds he'd illegally transferred. The remaining accounts were frozen pending investigation. The court also ordered a professional audit of his business finances. Ryan's lawyer tried to argue that the viral exposure had damaged his livelihood. The judge replied, "Your client's livelihood collapsed because of his own choices. Mrs. Ward simply stopped covering for them." Outside the courthouse, cameras swarmed, but I walked straight past them. No statements, no interviews, no comment. I'd spent years being the woman behind his words. I wasn't going to become his headline now. Inside, though, I felt something unravel, the final thread of fear snapping loose. A week later, the audit report went public. It was brutal. Misappropriation, false client billing, and personal luxury expenses masked as business costs. Within 48 hours, his consulting license was suspended. His partners dissolved the firm. Marissa called me, her tone part disbelief, part awe. "He's officially done. They're calling it one of the fastest corporate implosions in Austin's history." I exhaled slowly. It was built on lies. Lies don't age well. Then came the personal fallout. His family, especially his father, a retired banker who valued image above all, cut him off completely. I heard through mutual acquaintances that their last conversation ended with his father saying, "You embarrassed the family name, and for what? A social climber with a camera crew?" Sabrina's downfall came next. Her father quietly revoked her trust fund and removed her from every company board. The luxury apartment vanished. The sponsorships evaporated. The tabloids that once idolized her turned ruthless. Heiress turned homewrecker. Sabrina Holt's empire of illusion. I didn't gloat. I didn't post. I just watched the same machine that used to protect them finally devour its own. Ryan tried one last time to call. His number flashed on my phone late one night, long after Lily had gone to bed. I hesitated before answering. His voice was tired, cracked. "Elena, please. They've frozen everything. I can't access my accounts, my car, my apartment." "You mean our accounts," I corrected quietly. He sighed. "I just need help. Just until I find work again." I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then I remembered the gala, the laughter, the forced apology, the look in his eyes when he realized I'd exposed him. "I did help you," I said softly. "For 10 years. You used every ounce of it to build your empire. Now you get to learn what it's like without me." He started to say something, but I hung up. The silence afterward felt like cleansing rain. In the following weeks, life began to realign itself. Not back to what it was, but into something steadier. Rachel finalized the property transfers. The house became officially mine. I walked through it alone the first evening, barefoot, tracing the spaces that once held arguments disguised as conversations. I could still feel his presence, the cologne, the tension, the invisible weight of pretending. Then, room by room, I opened every window and let the air replace him. Lily adjusted faster than I expected. Kids have a way of healing without needing reasons. She asked once, "Is Daddy coming back?" I knelt beside her. "He'll always be your dad, but we're building something new now. Just us." She nodded, serious for a 6-year-old. "Then I'll help you build it." And somehow, that was enough. The world moved on quickly, as it always does with scandals. A new story replaced ours within weeks. But for Ryan, the internet never forgets. Every job interview, every networking attempt, his name carried a digital scar. He tried launching a podcast, a blog, a self-redemption series. None of it stuck. Marissa joked once. He's officially a motivational speaker for men who ruin their own lives. I laughed for the first time in months. Sabrina resurfaced online 6 months later, posting vague quotes about healing from toxicity. The comments section turned savage. She disappeared again within a week. Meanwhile, my life was quietly rebuilding. I reopened my old PR consultancy under a new name, Lumen Strategies. It started small, a few women-owned startups, some personal branding clients, but word spread fast. They came to me not just for PR, but for discretion, for the kind of integrity I'd earned the hard way. Every success felt cleaner this time. Not borrowed, not shared, but earned. One afternoon, as I packed old boxes from the attic, I found our wedding photo. I studied it for a long time. Two people smiling at a future they didn't understand. I almost didn't recognize that woman, her eyes too hopeful, her shoulders too light. I didn't cry. I just placed the photo back in the box and labeled it, evidence of what I survived. That night, Marissa and I sat on the porch, drinking wine as the sky dimmed. "You ever think about forgiving him?" she asked. I took a slow sip. Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about closing the door so you can't hear them anymore. She smiled. "You've come a long way." "I had to," I said. "He taught me how to play his game. I just learned to play it better." Across town, Ryan was being evicted from his downtown condo. I knew because the court filings were public. He'd lost everything: the business, the money, the circle that once worshipped him. The irony wasn't lost on me. He forced me to apologize in front of everyone once. Now, the world had forced him to live with the apology he'd never give. And I was finally free enough not to need it. It was a gray afternoon when I saw him again. The kind of day that looked colorless even in memory. The court had finalized everything 2 weeks earlier. The house was officially mine, the business officially gone, and Ryan Ward was officially no one. I wasn't expecting to see him that day. I'd driven back to the house one last time to meet the appraiser before putting it on the market. The place was nearly empty now, just echoes of a life that used to pretend to be happy. When I pulled into the driveway, his car was already there. Not the glossy Mercedes he once polished every Sunday, but a dented gray sedan with taped windows. He was sitting on the porch steps, elbows on his knees, staring at the ground like someone waiting for permission to breathe. For a second, I considered turning around, but some part of me, the part that still carried unfinished sentences, knew it was time. He looked up when I stepped out of the car. His eyes were sunken, his posture small. "Elena," he said, voice rough. I didn't know where else to go. "You shouldn't be here," I replied, steady, but not cruel. "It's trespassing now." He gave a faint, hollow laugh. "Guess I've been crossing lines for a while." I stayed a few feet away, crossing my arms. "What do you want, Ryan?" He rubbed his hands together, gaze unfocused. "I wanted to see you, to explain." "Explain what?" I asked quietly. "The cheating? The theft? The humiliation? Or the part where you turned my apology into your career move?" He winced. "I know what I did was wrong. I was stupid, arrogant. I thought I could fix everything before you noticed." I shook my head. "You didn't want to fix it. You wanted control. That's all you ever wanted." He stood slowly, taking a hesitant step forward. "I lost everything, Elena. The business, the investors, my family. Sabrina's gone. I don't even blame you anymore. You were right to expose me." For the first time, his voice cracked. Not the performance kind of crack he used in interviews, but the kind that came from something collapsing inside. I wanted to feel satisfaction. I didn't. Just distance. Like I was watching a story end from the outside. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said. I don't know how to start over. I don't even know who I am without you." The sentence hit me harder than I expected. Because for years, that had been my secret fear too. Who was I without him? I'd built so much of my life around his ambition that I forgot to see where mine ended and his began. Now I knew. "You'll figure it out," I said softly. "Maybe this time, You'll do it without someone else carrying your conscience." He laughed bitterly. "You always were the strong one. I just didn't see it." "Of course you didn't," I said. "You were too busy looking in mirrors that only reflected yourself." He flinched. "You think I don't regret it?" "I think you regret losing," I said. "Not hurting." Silence stretched between us, long and heavy. The wind shifted, carrying the faint smell of rain. Somewhere in the distance, a car door slammed. He finally spoke again. "Do you ever think about us? Before all of it?" I looked past him, toward the window where we once hung our anniversary photo. "Sometimes. But I think about her more. The woman I used to be. The one who thought love meant loyalty at any cost." His eyes softened. "She was good to me. She died at that gala," I said. "And I'm not bringing her back." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't angry. It was absolute. The kind that comes when there's simply nothing left to salvage. He shoved his hands into his pockets, voice trembling. "I'm sorry." I met his eyes. "No, you're not. You're just sorry it finally caught up to you." He looked down, shoulders slumped. "Maybe you're right." "I am," I said, but my tone was gentle. "And maybe one day, you'll stop trying to rewrite what happened and just accept that it's over." He nodded slowly. "You always did know how to get the last word." "It's not the last word," I said, turning toward my car. "It's just the truth." He called after me, desperation creeping back into his tone. "Elena, please, can we talk just for a minute? I don't want it to end like this." I stopped, turned halfway. "It ended the night you made me say sorry to your mistress. Everything since then has just been cleanup." He stood there, speechless. I saw his eyes fill, but I didn't move closer. "I'm not angry anymore," I said. "That's the difference between us. You live off reaction. I live off peace." He took a shaky breath. "So what now?" "Now," I said quietly, "I walk away." I stepped into the car, started the engine, and rolled down the window just enough for one final line, the kind that would echo longer than any argument. "You once said I'd never survive without you. But look at me now. I'm more alive than you'll ever be." He didn't respond. He just stood there as I drove off, getting smaller in the rearview mirror. A man swallowed by his own silence. As the road stretched ahead, I felt the strangest thing. Not triumph, not vengeance, but relief. The kind that only comes when the story finally stops asking for your attention. By the time I reached the highway, the rain had started to fall. I rolled down the window, let it hit my hand, and whispered to no one in particular. That's enough, because it was. A year later, my life feels almost unrecognizable. Not because it's louder or grander, but because it's finally mine. Mornings are slower now. I wake before the alarm, brew coffee, and open the balcony doors to the sound of city birds instead of arguments. Lily's laughter fills the apartment as she gets ready for school. Still the same bright energy, untouched by what we left behind. Sometimes she asks small questions like, "Do you miss Daddy?" I tell her the truth in the simplest form I can. I miss who I thought he was. She always nods like she understands more than she should. Lumen Strategies, the firm I started, has grown quietly but steadily. What began in a corner of Marissa's spare room is now a warm office downtown, filled with women who remind me of myself. Strong, bruised once, but unbreakable now. We don't just do PR. We rebuild reputations for people who've been silenced, manipulated, or erased. Every client who walks in looks defeated. Everyone who walks out leaves lighter. That's what healing looks like. Not revenge, just reclamation. Sometimes, when I draft campaigns or mentor new clients, I catch my reflection in the window and see calm instead of doubt. I used to measure myself through Ryan's approval. Now, I measure by peace of mind. I haven't seen him since that day on the porch. Word travels, though. He moved back to his parents' small town after losing everything. The firm, the money, the spotlight. Someone said he's working as a consultant again, small contracts, trying to rebuild. I don't wish him harm. I don't wish him anything. He's simply gone from my story. One evening last month, I walked past that old restaurant, the one where everything began to unravel. It had been remodeled, new owners, new name. Through the glass, I saw another couple laughing over champagne. The woman leaned in, eyes full of trust. I didn't feel bitterness, only gratitude that my own laughter now came without performance. That night, I took Lily for ice cream, and she asked if she could help me name new stories for my clients. I smiled. We'll start tomorrow. As we walked home under the city lights, I realized I no longer carried the weight of being his story. I was writing mine, and it wasn't built on apologies, manipulation, or silence. Some nights, when the city quiets and the sky turns indigo, I think back to the woman who stood outside that gala, trembling but free. She had no plan, no idea how she'd survive. But she did, because survival isn't loud. It's the quiet decision to never return to what broke you. And as the lights flicker through my window and Lily hums a tune in the next room, I whisper the truth I wish that younger version of me could have known. The end of one life isn't ruin, it's release. And I finally feel free.